Two roles, but it's actually three performances in this movie, really, isn't it? I mean, there's Uday, Lateef, and then Lateef pretending to be Uday. So I mean, how do you prepare for roles like this?
I didn't think too much about that third role. It kind of sprung itself upon me, and those scenes sometimes lengthened. And the way in which we filmed was that actually it was we improvised a fair amount, and we came up with new ideas and new scenes quite spontaneous. I mean, it was without really thinking too much about them. So I suddenly found myself impersonating and becoming and creating this character who I then realised shouldn't really be very good at it.
Yeah.
I thought this guy has been forced into this terrible situation that he can't find a way out of, and then he's being forced to be a good actor on top of it. So I really wanted that to be layered, and I also wanted desperately, as did Lee, that the audience was always aware of which character they were watching, and therefore that third character of Lateef impersonating Uday, I wanted to be slightly unsure, for the audience to be not quite sure who they were watching. Mm-hmm. But it was really exciting to play that role. I mean, the two other characters were so separated anyway, and I think it was about really identifying who they were and how we could make them as different as possible, and knowing and having the ability and for our director Lee to have made the choice that this wasn't going to be replicated or a biographical detailed account of who these people are. Therefore we had artistic license to change them, to get an essence of who they should be, and then make two very distinctive different characters. And I think that's what was essential.
Yeah.
And I was never hung up or worried is this exactly who this person should have been, because the truth is no one really knows, and it's only people's opinion, so we don't know what they said or what they actually did, and that gives us artistic license to create whoever we want to.
Well, as much artistic license if you have, I don't know if you could actually make up a character like Uday Hussein. I mean, he's a vile, repugnant kind of creature, you know.
Yeah.
How do you did you study old footage of him, or did you just how did you get under his skin?
There was not a great deal of footage I could find, but the stuff that I did find, he was this strange, looming, terrifying figure in the background that you could sort of, this fear emanating from the circle of people near him in his vicinity, and he had a very particular physical presence that I wanted to capture, and then exactly as you say, repulsive and repugnant and diabolical, and very difficult therefore for me to entertain performing him, or to understand or comprehend what on earth makes a man as monstrous as him, which I did via looking at who his family situation, his social situation, who his father was, this desperation to please this satirical, this nightmare tyrant, who I believe thought his eldest son Uday was a bit of a joke and was never prepared to give him any form of power. So then I started to understand the inner workings of frustration and resentment and hatred and bile towards his life, and therefore, no, that doesn't excuse it, and no, I could still never understand it, and I still was repulsed by him. But at least it was a way to get inside under the skin of, or to look through the eyes of this monster. That's and then Lateef was.
Well, I mean, how involved was Lateef? I mean, was he around during filming, or did you meet him beforehand, or how did that work?
Well, I got the job having auditioned, having created what I thought these people should be when I went into the audition, and then I had the opportunity to meet him at length. And I realised very early on that this guy is scarred physically, mentally, and actually it's not that many years ago. It's in the recent past that this terrible situation occurred in his life, and because I wasn't making a biographical, detailed account of him, I didn't think it was necessary to pry too much into all the emotional baggage that this carried. And he was very open about whatever I wanted to know, but he kind of released the information drip by drip, and however much he wanted to, and I was fine with that. Yes, maybe I would have loved to go to his house and rummaged through all the tapes and cassettes and pictures. It would have been fascinating, but didn't necessarily feel that was what I needed to do with this particular role of becoming him. And he knew always that I didn't want to go and study him for weeks and weeks. I wanted an essence of him and an idea of that story, because ultimately we've taken the story and we've manipulated it.
Is he happy with it? I mean, I assume he's seen it.
It's hard to say whether happy is the right word. I think he is. I think I watched it for the first time with him in Berlin, and he sat next to me, and you definitely noticed something happening within him, and him having a very strong emotional connection to it. And I always had to remind myself, and what was wonderful about having him around on the occasions that he was that it made you really think that these events in his mind and in reality took place. And it's I feel very removed from it. It's very hard for us to imagine this particular situation, but it made it a reality. But he's very pleased with it, and he's very complimentary of the work and the film.
Okay. It's kind of your first leading man carrying a movie by yourself, practically in every scene of the movie. And I mean, did you feel a lot of pressure beforehand, or did you just go with it?
I didn't feel much pressure. I don't know why. I actually felt so much more involved in it, creatively, and part of the technically. I love the technicality of this particular project and of film in general. I've always been either a runner on a film set, and I've assisted editors, so I understand the inner workings of it, and I've always wanted to sort of have an opinion, but not been in the right position to. It's very hard to do a line in a film where you haven't been there for 4 weeks and then come in and start thinking you can throw your weight around or suggesting how this should actually be filmed. So actually to be that involved in that close proximity in a set, and where your opinion is considered and counted, was really so rewarding. I loved every minute of it. It was tremendously hard and technically very difficult, but I felt so much part of it that I loved it, and I didn't feel the responsibility of taking on I've put all the responsibility onto our director. If this doesn't work, it's utterly your fault.
Wash your hands. Yeah. Well, that's great, Dominic. Thanks so much.